Welcome to EFTM, and today we're looking at the Thrustmaster Boeing Edition yoke for Xbox and PC on Microsoft Flight Simulator. This really ups your game. Now what I've done is I've set myself up in a Cessna here on the runway at Sydney Airport, and that's because I'm from Sydney and I love flying over Sydney. And I just wanted to demonstrate a couple of things. So firstly, in the cockpit here you can see full movement of all the controls as you'd want and expect. But I'll say straight up, there's not a lot of customization on the Xbox version of this. I have no doubt that if I plug it into the PC, I have full customization of every button and every single little thing there is. But this is about, for me, taking my Xbox simple flying to the next level. Honestly, flying with a controller just doesn't give me the feeling. But you will still need your controller because you can't navigate the menus without the controller. But now that we are here, we can disengage the parking brake because I've worked out that's what that button does, and we can apply throttle. And we'll hear that ramp up. Just give it a bit of volume. And I've got foot pedal rudder controls, just so you know. But let's get this thing in the air. We have external view, of course. I'm going to stay inside for a minute. And now we can pull up and begin our ascent. Now, because I hate flying from the cockpit when you're in the air, I turn the volume down a bit and switch to the outside view, and hopefully you can still hear me all right. And you'll see here, now, this is my favorite button on this whole thing, worth $1,000, is the gear up. And I can show you here the gear going up because I flicked that one little switch. I gotta tell you, for that alone, I'm buying it. I'm buying it, baby. It looks awesome. We can return to our standard view outside with that button, and we can look around with this kind of hat stick here. It's very, very nice, very easy to use. This one here gives us left, right, top, bottom, forward and above views. And again, this helps us point to the nearest airport. We now have full controls. Now I've got flap controls here, which I don't need to use. And you've got some other trim controls, but in all honesty, that's about it. You know, if you don't have the control within your reach on the Xbox controller, you're not going to have it on this here. Now, the big thing about this as a simulation is this yoke is tilting on a floor axis, essentially. So if you look from the side, you'll see it's leaning towards me and away from me. Unlike, say, your Honeycomb or your Logitech, which have kind of a pole sticking out and you're pushing in and out, which is fine, but this simulates the Boeing yoke inside, you know, a 787, for example. And we'll jump in one of those and have a look. But look, I'll be honest, it's a stupid amount of money for an Xbox controller, $1,000, but I love it. My only problem is it doesn't work in the lounge room because it really needs to be clamped to a desk. Now, both these come in the box. You can buy another one of these if you really want to go flying commercial airliners with 4 engines and do that kind of stuff. But for an everyday flyer like me who just loves the odd bit of takeoff and landing, flying from different airport to different airport, you know, bump landing as we do, this is immense fun. Like, I mean immense fun. And see, when we're in the cockpit, we can use this hat stick to look around as well. In the same way that you can outside, we've got our different views. And I love this, you know, looking around the cockpit and seeing what each of the buttons do. But I just find flying from here is kind of pointless. The whole point of Microsoft Flight Simulator is I can look at the landscape, fly over Ayers Rock, fly around New York City. It doesn't matter. It's just so amazing. It really is. And the whole look is just beautiful. And this feels great. So it bounces back into spot, right? Into center. That's the way it works. It's awesome. So let's jump into maybe a Boeing 787 or something like that. Woo! All right, we are inside a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Look at this here. She's looking gorgeous. I can show you all around it. As you can see there, parking brake engaged. Now these are all operational here. I got engine switches, I've got throttle control. I'll be honest, I forget what they all do sometimes, the switches that is. But let's go back to our standard view and let's take off from the inside. So disengage the parking brake, we've got our gear down. Like this switch here would be so cool if this did anything. It is changing the heading. You'll see, if you can look on there, we can change the heading here. So you've got some autopilot features, which is pretty cool. What if I put it on? Yep, so we've got control of our heading and IAS. And I don't know if it's doing anything for our altitude. Yes, it is. So we've got altitude control here, heading and IAS, which is awesome. So we can trigger those things. So if you're really into your autopilot flying, awesome, that works. I'm going to look down here so you can see again here, these either flap or speed brake controls, and this is interchangeable. You can take this off and switch it out with another one, which comes in the box. And of course, again, throttle control. So let's look outside. Let's release the parking brake and let's get some throttle action. Probably too much throttle to start with. Do I need to power them up? All right, here we go. I'm going full throttle, baby. Again, foot rudder controls, that's a separate cost. They don't come with the $1,000 here. I'm going to switch to outside view for takeoff here just because it looks so sick. You'll see those flaps are out too. I've got those flap controls there. I'm going to keep the nose pushed forward here for a little while just because it looks so good. Center that view again. I can use my outside views. Look at that, running straight down the runway. We are going to roll it forward now. Roll it back. And I'm going to put the gear up so you can see that going up there, which is awesome. The gear is up. We are in control. Put those flaps down. In the 787, I find it does a lot of this automatically because of the way I've got the settings. But if you really pare back some of those settings and start to give yourself some control out of easy mode, you're going to take advantage of some of this stuff. You can customize a couple of buttons. So this is also flaps here, but I've got that over here, so I don't need it. What I would most love is more control of the trim that's here. So really all I ever fly with when I'm doing my little tests and the training is the trim and the flaps and that kind of stuff. For that, it's absolutely perfect. So on the Xbox, if you've got space for it on a desk, it's outstanding. For me, I don't know that I can take this home because my kids will be like, where are we going to play it, Dad? It's not really for the lounge room. Maybe if we got a coffee table that would suit it. I think for $1,000 it's a crazy amount of money and probably a waste for a lot of people. But if you have hours logged up on your flight sim using an Xbox controller, you're mad if you don't get yourself a decent yoke. And this one probably takes the cake. The quality and construction isn't quite up there with the beautiful materials used by the honeycomb one, but it's a bit more plasticky like the Logitech. But there's some little things, like look at this. There's a tablet mount there in case you're doing some avionics and controls there. It's all there for you. I have found so much more satisfaction flying my crazy daredevil missions. I have found look at the wings, composite wings just flapping as I control it and ruin it. But I've had so much more satisfaction flying with this controller than with the Xbox controller. If you've got a PC and you're hooking up, obviously there is the honeycomb. There's a lot of alternatives out there. But I do love that this is authentically Boeing. $1,000, they're not available until next year. There might be some drop around Christmas time, but it's certainly not going to be here in time to be a Christmas present. But enjoy. Thrustmaster have done it again. For those of us with too much money and just want to spend $1,000, more than an Xbox, on how cool your flight sim is. All right, well, this is a bit crazy. And now I'm in a fighter jet. at way too many feet. I'm at 50,000 feet for crying out loud, and I'm trying to land. All right, we need to take this thing a long way down. Oh wow, look at that. Let's get it down there. I do love in the fighter jets. You've got to buy a fighter jet if there's not one in your arsenal, because they fly like a toy. For those of us that aren't pilots, they're a bit more fun to watch them fly around and, you know, the whole kit. Look around this thing. Look at this. Look at this jet. I mean, I should be flying this with a joystick, shouldn't I?